Just like that, we are live on the internet. Me and my good friend Richard Specht.
That's
Junior.
me. Yes, I am a junior.
Yep.
Rich, actually, you know what I was toying with the other day?
What's that?
I am Richard second of my name.
I like that better.
I get to say that. I'm second of my name.
Yeah, Richard Specht, second on my name.
That's right.
Did you like House of Dragon?
I did.
That was great. Yep.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. So,
yep.
I felt like narratively there was a couple things that were a little weird, but I enjoyed it.
So, yeah, I like it a lot.
You know what? I enjoy most things unless it's like just patently bad.
I'm with you. I like almost everything.
So,
yeah.
But I did not like Wakanda Forever. I hated that movie.
Oh, that's right. You're wrong. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I hated that movie. I just hated it.
I forgot about how wrong you were because it's great. It's really good.
And I was like the other person who liked Black Adam.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard terrific things.
Yeah, no, I was like, it was me and some other dude in Wisconsin who liked Black Adam.
The Rock's mom.
Right.
Mrs. Johnson liked it. And that's it. Yeah.
So, yeah, but I will die on that mountain that I hated Wakanda Forever, and I loved Black Panther. Loved it.
Okay, here we go. The first Suicide Squad movie.
What, liked or hated it?
Yeah.
I tolerated it. I it was entertaining.
Okay.
I didn't hate it, but I was like, eh.
Aquaman.
I liked Aquaman a lot.
Oh, interesting. All right.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed that movie.
Because that movie's bad.
So I liked it. I mean, was it silly? Yeah. Was it campy? Yeah. But did I like it? Yes. What about The Suicide Squad?
Great.
Loved it.
Terrific.
Loved it. It was everything the first movie wasn't.
What about Birds of Prey?
I've never seen it.
It's good.
Abby saw it, and she's like, "Daddy, it sucks." I never watched it.
It was good.
Was it?
It was definitely better than Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Oh, well, then I should watch it then.
But maybe my bar was low, so I thought Suicide Squad was going to take on that. So I was like, "Here we go," and it was good. It was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good.
That does help when you go to see a movie, like where you set the bar.
Right.
Like when I went to go see Black Adam, I was prepared for the worst. I'm like, this movie's gonna suck, and I was surprised by it, which I think is part of the appeal. Now I have not seen it a second time. I only saw it once.
Okay.
So that could, and I think I'm almost afraid to watch it again because I'm like, now that I've been surprised, I might go back like, what the hell was I thinking? Which I've had happen to me with movies. So I don't know.
What about?
Conversely, though, as the scientist, I should go back and watch Wakanda Forever with the lens of my disappointment being how I look at it and be like, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as I recall.
I thought it was really good. What about Matrix 4?
I enjoyed it, but there was something wrong with it.
Right? I couldn't figure out why I didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain that. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, there's something wrong.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was something.
It was like there was a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah. It felt like a B movie, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I can't put I after I finished it, and I had watched it the night of the release. Like I'll get up in the middle of the night, like when they release the movies like that.
We know.
So I literally got up at 3:00 in the morning, as I did last night, by the way, to watch Star Trek Picard and really piss my wife off. So I just found out that my wife just came clean to me that I am such a fanboy that I will wake up. I will set alarms to wake up to be. I have to be the first to go see movies. This is a thing for me. So when these shows get released on either Disney Plus or on Paramount Plus, whatever, or on HBO Max, I will set alarms so that I can watch it. I have no patience. I have to watch it right away. And I've been doing this for years now, basically probably since the pandemic. And, I did it with WandaVision every episode. So this is something I do. And last night, I realized that maybe doing this, sharing a room with my wife and sharing the bedroom, that it could be rude because she has to get up for work, and my schedule is much more flexible, so I can sleep in on some mornings that she can't.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So do you go back to bed?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and then because actually, literally, the thought while you're talking about this was like, oh, this makes sense. Like if I didn't have like a structured day job, and sleep was like this thing that I could do kind of whenever I wanted, and I could just literally make my own rules. Then yeah, you get up if you want at 3 a.m. and then you go to bed, and then you get up at noon, or you sleep for 2 hours in the middle of the day, or.
Well, I mean, I have to get up. I have to get up by 8 o'clock anyhow to get Melina set because I'm the one who gets her on the bus every morning. So it's not like I can go back to sleep for very long. But if I wake up at 3 and the show's only an hour, I go back 4 o'clock. I can sleep for another 4 hours. So it's okay. That's great.
And then if you wanted, you can sleep at 2 p.m.
I could.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things I should be doing every day, regardless of what my schedule is or regardless if I'm speaking. But I'll do this, by the way, on mornings where I speak, I still do it. So it's not like something I reserve for days that I know I can pad my schedule or anything like that. So, but my wife, so this morning, I thought I was trying something different. I said, I have these noise canceling headphones. And I was like, you know what I'll do is I'll just put them in and I'll sleep with them in because I can barely feel them. And I'm like that sleeper that goes to sleep in one position and wakes up in exactly the same position.
Me too.
So, yeah. I think your reason's a little more obvious than mine, though.
Maybe, but I used to roll around a little bit, and I don't know. Yeah, so but
I don't. I basically go to sleep in one position. That's the position I wake up in, and everyone thinks it's really weird. So I can put earbuds in my ears, and it doesn't bother me because it's not like I'm moving my head or rolling over. So my genius idea last night was put these earbuds in my ears because then this way, when I set the alarm, the sound will come through the earbuds and not a problem. So I did that, and I inadvertently hit the snooze button. I didn't realize it. So I guess what happened was I heard the sound in my ears, and I like tapped my ear, and that set off the snooze button. I didn't realize that. So I fell back asleep, and then it went off again, and apparently I did it again. And then it happened again, but I'm thinking this is fine because Sam can't hear it. Nope, it turns out that the sound was coming through both my headphones and the phone. And it woke her up, and she was so mad. On the third one, she's like, I'm so sick of you getting up for these shows. She's like, you have no concern. I'm like, but I had the hear. You can't hear it. She's like, I can hear it fine. And I mean, she was really upset. She couldn't get back to sleep. And I felt guilty. And then she threatened to stuff my CPAP machine with paper towels and suffocate me to death. So I'm like, oh, this is serious. She's willing to kill me over this. So now I felt bad, though, because basically for the last 3 years, I've been doing this for certain shows or things that are released, and I had no idea. This is why communication is important in a marriage. And I told her that, and of course that went over about as well as a fart in church. And I did make up for it, though, because I could not get back to sleep. First of all, there was no way I was getting back into that bed. I was not volunteering to go back into the lion's den. So I just cleaned the whole downstairs. So when she came downstairs this morning, the house was spotless, like cleaning services clean, and it did work. It made a difference. But I'm such a nerd. I have to be the first, and I have to see it. And So, and I remember when the Matrix came back. Long story short, to get back to that, I remember when that came out as it finished, and it ran for a while. So Sam, I think, had just gotten up for work, and she knew I was excited about it. I couldn't wait because I love the Matrix movies, and she's like, so what, did you like it? And I'm like, I think so. I don't, I mean, it was something, I don't know, something was wrong. It was like, I don't know. It's like eating a piece of chocolate cake and you're like, it's like eating a brownie and it's still a brownie, but you're like, there's something off about this brownie. So that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was weird.
You know what it was? It was a chocolate chip cookie with nuts.
Which still a chocolate chip cookie, but not quite right. Not quite right.
This is going to be my new thing to describe things like that. It's a chocolate chip cookie with nuts.
I just had a brilliant idea for a commercial like that planters should do. You ready?
Go ahead.
And it should be Jack Nicholson saying, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." And then he literally does get nuts. Like they pull out a can of nuts.
Should it be Michael Keaton?
Or Michael Keaton. That's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah, Michael Keaton. Yeah. The same movie. I was just wrong character. Yeah, Michael Keaton. Yeah. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Do you know he reprises that line in The Flash?
Does he? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this.
That was one of the spoilers that I got for the movie. So
thank you for telling me.
You're welcome. But
there's two spoilers today, by the way. That's great.
Yes, I'm sorry. I told you that Data dies.
And now
spoiler alert, I told
both of our audience members now are also.
That's right. Now they're going to be so mad at me because I spoiled that Data. I'm sure these are people who watch Star Trek. So, I think I feel like a unicorn because I love Star Trek probably as much as I love Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't think this is an unreasonable thing. There's similar deals. I don't understand why there's a divide. So
from what I understand, is like a lot of people feel that they're supposed to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're not.
No. Like I've had people like if you look behind me, you see my Transformers, but there's the Enterprise, right? And I have multiple Enterprises back there. And then I've got my Star Wars. Oh, you can't really see it. There's Star Wars stuff up on that shelf. Like I've had people come into my office and be like, that's heresy. You can't do both. So
you can. Just because they both have the word star in the name, that's all it is. It's so silly.
Yeah, am I going for a battle in the stars, or am I going through a journey through the stars? So
depends on the day of the week.
Now I'm out of focus, and this is gonna.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, do that, please.
It still doesn't. You know what? It's gonna fix itself. Oh, there it is.
There you go. Good job.
So yeah, but
what are you gonna do?
I don't know. But yeah, what were we talking about before that?
Dune.
We weren't talking about Dune.
Well, Dune's great. I like Dune a lot.
Dune was great, and that movie surprised me too.
Yeah, it's awesome. But
you can't fool me.
Yeah.
Although talking about something else, there's an interesting thing about getting older.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gradual. I discovered you don't get older gradually.
No, you don't. You just become old one day.
Seriously, this is exactly what happens. You have spurts, and my latest spurt of oldness is that I am finding it more difficult to recall names and things as quickly as I used to be able to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People would ask me like an actor's name or something, and boom, come right out. And what I've noticed is like there are times where I
didn't even consider it was age. I thought it was drugs.
No, it's age, dude.
I thought it was drug use. Maybe it's age.
No, it's age. Yeah. It's totally age. 100%. Because I haven't done one other than prescribed drugs. I've never done a drug in my life. So
yeah, I totally thought it was my drugs.
Nope. It's completely age, dude.
And time of day.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I can pinpoint like when this happened, and it's been within the last like 6 months or so that I have just noticed this more and more to the point where I said something to Sam, and she's like, "Oh, I noticed the same thing." She's like, "I thought I was getting dementia," and I'm like, "No, I think this is just we've gotten older." And the same thing happened to me with my eyesight. Like one day, things were blurry. And I'm like, when the hell did this happen? And I remember when it happened. I was renovating the camper. It was in the middle of the pandemic. It was August of 2020. I'm renovating my camper upstate. And I was trying to read my phone at night. And I was like, rubbing my eyes. And my daughter's like, "Daddy, what's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, man, I think I got sawdust in my eyes because I can't read my screen." And no, like, I guess that day was the day my vision decided to go south, and it never got better. So
I've been talking about it for the last year or so that I can tell it's going. My eyes,
how old are you now?
41. I'll be 41 in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, so I was about I was a little bit older. I was 44 when it started to go south.
So
and it was like boom.
So I did an eye test here. We did like casually, like I printed the thing out and I did it, and I still scored 20/20. Because I have that's your acuity. That's not testing nearsightedness.
Right,
I know. But
my visual acuity is still 20/15 in my left eye.
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, do you know what 2020 stands for? Do you understand that?
Yes, but remind me.
Okay, so if you have 20/20 vision, what that effectively means is that at 20 feet,
right,
you see what a normal person should see at 20 feet.
Right.
You can resolve what a normal. And if you have 20/15 vision, at 20 feet, you see what someone would see if they were at 15 feet, typically. So
I'm almost certainly better than 20/20.
The reason, though, I mean, for me, because of the lack of vision in my right eye, my left eye kind of like took over. So, and I still have that. So I still have 20/15 vision in my left eye, and that's just my visual acuity. And that's for, basically seeing things at a distance. But, so I think we're all naturally farsighted, but it's the reading and the close-up stuff. Like, all of a sudden, I remember my dad joking around my age, like, "Oh, my arms are getting shorter." And I remember being a kid, I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? Your arms?" And now I know, because like I'm now holding things out further and further, and I'm like, God, man, this is like getting old. Or Melina, not my daughter Melina, but Germany Melina. She's been sending us pictures and videos of her baby, who's adorable, and she just showed me a picture of Lewis rolling over. They just got him to roll over, and I couldn't help but notice his struggles to roll over look like me trying to get out of bed now. And I joked with her. I said, "It's so funny how the things that we worked so hard at when we were kids come back to us as we get older, because your child trying to roll over reminds me of me trying to get out of bed today." So, and these are things like this was not an issue, and now it is. So, as my father used to say, I woke up on the right side of the ground today, and that's a good thing. So,
not anymore. It's not anymore.
Well, not for him.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't say that.
He's on the other side, so
not good for him.
Well, he's not going to complain. So
probably not. Yeah, I think I'm going to look good in glasses, so I'm excited for that part.
And every once in a while, like, I'll wear my glasses. I've worn them for a couple of the podcasts too, because some days it's just worse, and I'm like, I can't even see the monitor in front of me. So, and that's another thing I can vary from time of day, or different points, and it's yeah. So,
I'm not looking.
Again, another quote from my father: "Getting older sucks, but it beats the alternative."
I'm not looking forward to. I remember my dad being like crippled without his glasses. Like, if he didn't have them, he couldn't do shit. And he'd be like, "Oh, I forgot my glasses." It was a problem. Yeah.
Well, I've gotten to that point with certain things.
Yeah.
So, especially anything that requires, well, a great example, like last week we couldn't do the podcast because my computer, blanked out.
Yeah.
And normally I'm used to working on computers. I've built computers my whole life. So I'm very good at manipulating the components inside the case. And there's a lot of small connections that you make inside of a computer case. And when I was testing to figure out what was wrong with my PC, I realized I can't see these components. And I shined a bright light in there, not enough. And I had to put my glasses on. And I was completely gimped without them. I literally would not have been able to do the things that I did without having those glasses on. And I'm like, wow, I'm getting old. This is old age.
I know my dad was pretty mechanical, and he got real good about. Maybe he was always this way, but he used to almost kind of. I think he knew he was better at it than most, so he appreciated it by himself. But he got really good at feel. He's like, I don't have to see it, but I just need to get my hands on it. Because if I can feel it, I'll feel my way through. And he would do that all the time with stuff, where he couldn't see it, but I found like under something where he couldn't get to it to see it. He would like reach around, and if he could feel it, he could do it.
I've found myself doing stuff like that, but that's basically out of my inability to accept.
It might have been his too. Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go. I hate the inconvenience of having to put the glasses on. And like, I don't want to be walking around with the glasses on the little, I don't know, what do they call it?
I know, because of my situation, that's going to be me. Like, I won't have another option. I'll have to have it hanging out. Yeah.
But I asked Samantha if because she has bifocal lenses, because now she's always worn glasses because she's nearsighted, and like terribly nearsighted. Like her glasses are Coke bottle lenses. You know, it's bad. Like you could start fires with those things. And but she's got the bifocal. And I said, you know, I think a great idea is, can I ask them to give me bifocal lenses that are just, they're the bifocal, but I don't need the magnification. Just give me clear, you know, zero optic glasses for the vision, you know, the distance, but put in, you know, the thing for the have a bifocal that way. Like, will they do that? And she thought that they might, but my thinking is that more people would do that if that were not. Like, I'll gladly keep glasses on because I don't want to have to go through that, so that I just have that.
Maybe that's what I end up doing is something like that, you know.
Because I mean, I don't look bad in glasses, so
yeah. Because there's no way I take them off, put them where on me, and then pull them back out. Like
right.
they have to be hanging or like. You know.
It is decidedly inconvenient, and I'm the type of person who loses stuff all the time. So, and I'll be the person who's got them on top of my head, and I'll forget that they're there, and it'll be the last place that I checked. So, yeah, it's to me that would be a solution to a problem that I tend to obsess over my problems, and when I have a specific problem, I feel this overwhelming need to figure out the best way to approach it, and I won't stop until I do it. And having glasses that are like that would be that solution. And that is my really bad segue into.
We should talk more about that. Yeah, that's interesting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so I was diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yep.
I was diagnosed with OCD back in 2004, 2003.
What led you to seek that diagnosis?
Actually, I
did something.
So I had to go see before my daughters were born. It was 2004 because it was right before Abby was born. Oh no, it wasn't 2000. It was 2008. I take that back. It was 2008. I was diagnosed because it was right before my father died. Mm-hmm. I was having issues. I was having some neurological issues that we weren't sure what the causes were. My fingers were shaking. One day while writing on the board in my classroom, as I was writing, what I thought was writing normal, it was gibberish on the board. And the kid's like, Mr. Speck, what is that? And I look back and it was all garbage. And I'm like, oh my God. And I had no idea that's like in my head, it was totally clear and it just didn't translate. So freaked me out. I went to go see my neurologist and they sent me for a battery of tests. And one of them was going to see a psychiatrist. And when I met with the psychiatrist, this woman was weird, but I remember, I'll never forget. I walked into her office and behind her, she had a picture and it was crooked and it was driving me crazy. The whole time I'm talking to her, I could not focus on what she was saying. And I'm like, you know, your picture's crooked, right? And she's like, I do. And then it dawned, I'm like, oh my God, that's on purpose. Was that on purpose? Oh my God, was that on purpose? Like, is that like that because of what you do? Like, is it for people like me? Like, and as we started talking, and I had to see her several more times, and she's like, yeah, you have OCD.
So and was it on purpose?
She never answered it, which to this day drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Like, was that on purpose? Like,
you should like hunt her down and tie her to a chair and make her answer it.
Dr. Marianne Hendricks. I'll never forget her name. And probably the reason I won't forget her name is because I never got the answer to that problem, right. Which my OCD is like, I have to have the solution to that problem. And so she told me when she diagnosed me, she said, you have OCD, which my understanding of what OCD was then was my sister has OCD, but she's got the OCD where it's physical. Like it manifests with, she's got to constantly wash her hands and she's constantly, she has to clean things. And she's just absolutely 100% obsessive about it. And if you break that obsession, she doesn't handle it well. And so when my doctor said, you have OCD, I'm like, no, I don't. It's like, I don't obsessively wash my hands. I don't do things like that. And she's like, no, you have what I call pure OCD, because it's the OCD of thought. And she's like, it's very common, by the way. This type of OCD is very common in scientists. And I was like, well, ding, ding, ding. She said it's very common in she was not a person who believed in left brain, right brain, but she liked it as a describer of how people think, see themselves. And she's like, for people who look at things very logically and analytically, it's very, very common. And I was like, I've never heard of pure OCD. But the more she started describing it and stuff, she said, is this what you, and she put me on medication for it. So there are medications you can take that help abate some of those symptoms, but I hated it. I hated the medication. And she tried a couple, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to live with this, because honestly, the thing that I came to understand is, like, when you first get a diagnosis like that, your thought is, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm defective. Like, oh, I have OCD. I'm obsessive compulsive, and I never knew this. Like, this is so weird. So once she told me, though, it was like, oh, wait, now that's filling in so many blanks. Like, this is why I do this. And this is why when I'm stuck with a problem, I have to get the answer. And it's any type of problem. My students, by the way, knew this well before I did, because my students, to throw me off and to get me off topic, would ask a question that I didn't know the answer to, because I would be obsessed with finding out the answer. And I would stop what I was doing to have to find the answer right then and there. And I never realized what that was. I just thought that was just my personality or whatever. And then suddenly I'm diagnosed with OCD, and it made me rethink what we use these labels as, because, okay, OCD, like, I think as a parent, we've had this with Melina. So Melina was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And when she was diagnosed on the spectrum, my wife and I are like, oh my God, this is, terrible. And we're starting to, in our head, running through what's going to happen and, how our life's going to play out. And it's turned out that my understanding of what it is, and the reason it's called a spectrum, is because there is a great degree of variation between one end and the other. And Melina's very low end. And yet there are certain things that you can universally point out on the spectrum. And which was interesting when we found out from Melina, I noticed when we were doing the testing for her that I was answering yes to a lot of the questions that she was. So I went to go see my doctor. And I had mentioned to him, I said, my daughter, she was just diagnosed on the spectrum, and she's very mild, but I noticed in the testing that the doctors were doing with her, because we were there for all of it, that a lot of the questions that we had been asked and a lot of the surveys that we had to do, because it's all done through these surveys, there's no like genetic test or anything, or no physical test. My answers were the same. And the doctor looked at me and he goes, do you want me to do the test with you? And I'm like, sure. So he gives me this written test, and I had to do some other things I took home, and I brought him back. And sure enough, I came back on the spectrum. And I'm like, but no, I'm not. No. And then as I'm going yeah. And so when I went to go see the doctor, same as with the OCD, I said, so what does this mean? And he goes, nothing. And I was like, okay. All right. What? And I recognize, and I think it was because of my daughter, that label didn't mean anything. It was a way of understanding myself. And that to me has been the best part of it, is that I now understand a little bit more about myself than I did, and why I might do certain things, but more importantly, how I can help mitigate it. And I think with parents, when a parent gets a diagnosis of their child of, say, ADHD, which I don't have, OCD, which I do have, and autism spectrum, that it's not there to make you feel bad. It's not there to make you have a inferior view of your child or feel that they're defective. It's there as a way for you to guide you in how you're going to help raise them the best into the world that they're going to live in. And the thing that like when my computer broke last week and I was texting back and forth with you and Mike, I had mentioned to him, I said, he had said that, I would not spend that amount of time because it literally took me about 13 and a half hours, I believe, overall of work, just straight work. And my whole family knew. Like they came home, my wife knew exactly where she'd find me. I was still sitting at the desk and I would not stop until I got the computer working. But I understood that and I said, you know what? This is my superpower. Because applied, if I focus it where it needs to be, it becomes something positive. Yeah, and there are some downsides to it though, because my family knew they couldn't interact with me until I figured it out. And that's the thing. I was not gonna. My daughter came up, asked me a question, and I was like, no, I gotta finish. So, yeah, that understanding is an important thing. So, it's not like, and I didn't mute my phone. So you would think I'd be obsessive compulsive about that, but
I can hear it's a WhatsApp message, which is weird too.
Yeah, that's all we use.
Wait. That means if it's WhatsApp, that means it's probably Melina from Germany.
Well, the reason we use WhatsApp is because of Melina, and because WhatsApp is basically the only way that people send SMSs throughout all of Europe. Basically, the rest of the world, by the way.
Yeah.
And we got hooked on it, so our whole family uses WhatsApp. So I very rarely SMS through the carrier. So yeah, I text you through SMS.
But yeah, but now WhatsApp. Yeah.
Why do you have WhatsApp?
Yeah, but don't use it. I don't check it.
No. I mean, I use it almost exclusively. So to the point where when I get texts from other people, I sometimes ignore them because I'm so used to using WhatsApp. So, but,
ignore them.
Yeah, WhatsApp's great, by the way. I love it. It definitely has more functionality than your normal SMS, and I love that you can do video chat and everything. But that's besides the point. So,
why don't people in Europe use the regular SMS carrier?
I think they don't trust them. Because the older text services were not encrypted. So, and when they were encrypted, they were end-to-end encryption as opposed to a built-in encryption. So that meant if it's end-to-end, that means if you intercepted in between, it's not encrypted. So it was encrypted on one user's end and on the other user's end, but in between that data was not. So I think Europeans are much more. It's a much bigger deal for them about privacy than it is for Americans. Americans, I find very interestingly, are very laissez-faire when it comes to their information.
I am
very, very different in Europe. Very different. So the whole idea that your SMSs are encrypted in WhatsApp was a big deal to them. So
I know a lot of people claim they care about their privacy, but clearly don't.
I don't.
I'm very open that I don't.
Yeah, I hear my mother like, oh, I don't want that Google in my house. I don't want to listen to that. I don't care. Let it listen to me. So whatever. What am I gonna? I'm a person. What are they gonna find out about me that? Yeah. So yeah, that is something my OCD does not kick in for. So.
Man, I wish I had some like ailment that had positives to it that I could use to relate to your story. But
well, I will say this.
That's a joke. I was being sarcastic.
Yeah. You are obviously I remember my dad always telling me, and I think as a kid I couldn't reconcile what it actually meant, that my dad just always reinforced to me that you learn more through your struggles than you do through your successes. Mm-hmm. And identifying your struggle is the first step.
I just wish I had learned so much,
But yeah, so I think if you have OCD or if you have ADHD or if you have if you're diagnosed on the autism spectrum disorder, I think that is something that just helps you. It informs you as to how you can navigate life, and I don't think it should be. I don't know. I don't think you should look down on it and see it as a label. I think it's like any other diagnosis. It's something that I can, give me a roadmap as to how to be successful in the future. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as a human born with cerebral palsy, I have um, in my blog and videos and stuff, I've talked about a lot about how there are there are upsides that I've experienced, and not the dumb one, not parking for the record. I don't give a shit about parking. That's what's like, oh yeah, you get the parking spot. I'm like, yeah, that's really, you know what, that makes it all even. That closer parking spot really changes my life.
By the way, if you want to talk about just how things are not fair,
yeah,
I can get a handicap parking spot because of my visual impairment in New York State.
That's silly.
Right.
So I have strong opinions about parking spots. Just so you know, I think there should be two kinds of handicap parking spots. I think there should be spots up close that are a different color or the same color. They can steal my color. I don't care, but I like my blue. But it's green or orange, whatever it is, for people who are elderly, for pregnant women, for people who need a cane or a walker, any kind of slow walker, which is the actual designation. People who can't breathe well, people with heart conditions, anything like that, they should get to park up front. If you've got an electric wheelchair, put me in the middle or the back somewhere, but give me the lift space. I want the spot, those slash line, area designated for my lift to lower down, and put it in the back where no one wants to park anyways. Because I don't know if you noticed, but I have an electric generated wheelchair. It costs me zero energy to go for, put me way in the back. Doesn't bother me at all. All I care about is the lift. So put me in a place where no one else wants to park and give me my lift spot, and let the slow walker people be up front. And that would be perfect. And that way, because I live in South Florida, my spots wouldn't all be taken up by elderly people who should get the spots. They should be up close, but they don't need the lift spot, and they're using my lift spot for their slow walking condition. And I think there just needs to be a little bit of nuance to realize that not all cripples are the same, and this umbrella that we put on these parking spots isn't a good one size fits all solution. So
that is something I've never thought of.
Yep, there you go.
But why would I? Because I don't have that perspective that you do.
Yep.
So it must. I mean, that must infuriate you when you see that in that spot, which has that basically that space for you to be able to do this, right? So
I wouldn't use infuriate. It's slightly annoying. Very little things infuriate me, but I'm like, that's silly, and I move out of my life. But it could be better though. Yeah.
It's true. I said infuriate, and very few things infuriate me too. So
yeah, I don't really get
it. It would annoy me though.
Yeah, it seems inefficient, and I think the inefficiency bothers me. But go back to your point though. So yeah, there are a number of benefits that I've accrued from being disabled. I think I have a very high, what we would call it, superhuman level of creative problem solving abilities, because I am doing creative problem solving all the time. Almost everything I do, I've had to figure out how to do without any example or role model. So the way I type is very different from the way everyone else types, right? Because I've had to figure it out just for me,
right.
And the way I use a mouse is unique just to me. The way I operate a cell phone is unique just to me. So everybody else just gets to kind of see how everyone else does it and then emulate it to some extent. I don't. Literally everything I do is invented just for me. And I think I've benefited from that because I get to apply that problem solving muscle that I've developed onto my life. And funny enough, just like your OCD is a thing commonly found in scientists, I would say one of the primary functions of a CEO or entrepreneur or business owner is creative problem solving. Like you're the chief problem solver. So I think my occupation has reflected well on my superpower. Same with I have a bizarre amount of patience when enduring annoying things, because I've there's been times where I've had to wait 6 hours in bed for someone to come get me up, or those I've had to wait super long stretches of time to use the restroom, and those kinds of things. If I have an itch below my stomach, I just don't itch it. I just ignore it until it goes away, which I think a lot of people couldn't fathom, And so I've developed these kind of above average levels of patience for dealing with things that I don't think regular people do. So it works with other things too. I'm generally unruffled by most things, and I think that's part of it. But yeah, there's been some benefits that have come from having to live with cerebral palsy that I think have helped me in my life. And then also just a level of understanding and compassion and ability to realize what people might be going through and that kind of thing too.
Well, and I think that you touch on something really important, this idea of perspective, which has always been a big deal for me, is seeing things in a way that you just would never without, like, there's two ways you can get perspective, and there's only two. Just two. One is you experience something in a way that makes you see things the way you did because that was your experience. Or number two, someone shares with you their experience and a way of looking at things in a way you never thought of looking at them. And that's it. That's the only two ways you get perspective on anything. So, and I often have asked people, if you can come up with a third way, I would, I'm open, I'm all ears. But to me, that's the only way, right? So either you go through an experiential thing that makes you see things that way, or someone shares with you a way of looking at things in a way that you never thought of looking at it. So, and I think a lot of our experience is shared in kind of a baseline way. And I think what that does is, I think a lot of that baseline stuff becomes what, mainstream. And then anything outside of it then becomes abnormal or weird, and that label's dangerous. And I think that applies to these diagnoses. Like, oh my God, there's something terribly wrong with my kid if they got labeled, ADHD. Or, oh my God, there's something terribly wrong where, my daughter's been she was on the autism spectrum. Like, I think that perspective is what's needed. That you can say, well, I think you give it such a great way of looking at it that, hey, there's things I got that benefited me from my disability.
Yeah.
And I don't think the average person could ever look at it that way and be like, oh, wow, I could totally see that. Like, no, that's the last thing they're probably thinking of because they don't have that perspective. And until you share that with them, there's no way they could possibly have it. So I think for me, that's kind of what happened when we lost Reese, that my perspective was that there's nothing you can do to make this better, that it's just, I would have continued to look for all the stuff that would have confirmed what I believed to be true in the world. And nothing would have changed that until Mr. Kelly came and did what he did and changed the way I saw things and made me see things in a way that I hadn't before because of that experience. So, a lot of this comes down to how you choose to look at the world. And I always tell the kids that I speak to or the adults I speak to, approaching the world like a scientist is a great way to do it because a scientist always has to look at things from both ends of a problem. Not just what happens if I do this, but what happens if I don't do this. And our brains aren't programmed to work that way. Our brains are programmed to look for cause and effect in the end, not effect and cause. So it's So if you happen to have a child who gets diagnosed with this, it's not the end of the world, and it could be anything. My niece right now is having some issues, and she's got what appears to be some issues with connective tissue, and my sister's now concerned that these issues that she's having, where she's having things separate and break easily. that she may possibly have this condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Are you familiar with this? So it's like people are really bendy.
Yeah,
and it's actually a mutation that causes their connective tissues actually doesn't form right. So the upside is that they're mega flexible. So like those contortionists that you see, almost all of them have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And my sister, upon hearing that this could be the diagnosis for my niece, was like freaked out. And I said, all right, yeah, I mean, it could be bad, but there's also some cool stuff. Like if she finds out, like, hey, maybe she's got a future as a contortionist. Like, I don't know, like how you decide to look at a problem is as important as the problem itself. So,
for the story, and yeah. So, have you heard the parable of the Chinese farmer?
No.
Or maybe said the farmer, I guess another way of doing it. I pulled it up because I don't want to get it wrong. So 1 second while I want to say details because it's a neat story. I've always liked it. And it touches on what you're talking about here. And 1 second. It's compelling content. Talk about your dog.
So this is Diana, and she's being annoying. So I picked her up because she was starting to beg, and I didn't want to leave her outside because now that she does not have her playmate, she gets bored very easily.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Say hi, Diana.
All right. Here it is. So. Once upon a time, there was an old farmer who had worked his crops for many years. One day his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit and said, "Such bad luck." And the farmer replied, "Maybe." The next morning, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. And the neighbors came over and said, "How wonderful." And he said, "Maybe." And then the following day, his son tried to one of the untamed horses and was thrown off the horse and broke his leg. The neighbors again came to offer their sympathies for his misfortune, and he said, "Maybe." The day after, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army. And seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by, sparing him from what was almost certainly going to be a suicide mission. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out. And he said, "Maybe." So you never know, right?
That's right.
That's how you look at it. You know, it wasn't good or bad.
Things, and it's perspective.
Yeah.
So I always, when I speak to every age group that I speak to that's not like kindergarten age, I always tell the kids, like, you can find in the world what you want it to be. If you think the world is full of terrible people doing terrible things, you'll find it. And if you think the world's full of good people doing good things, you'll find it. And on any given day where you decide it's one or the other, that's what you're going to find. So your attitude really kind of dictates your direction. And I see this when I'm driving. If I think everybody else on the road is a jerk and gonna cut me off, and the first person who does, like, proves my point, right? Oh yeah, see, but if that's how I'm seeing things and someone lets me over, I'm probably going to dismiss what they did, because that's not what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for the people to prove what I believe to be true. So if you have a child who's diagnosed with these bad things and you get bad things out of it, you're like, see, this is the worst case scenario. It's all true. And yeah, because if that's what you're looking for, you'll find it. So if you're looking for things in life, those are the things in life you're going to find. So that's why I I've started this. I don't know. The last couple years has been my thing. Is like when I go outside, I make a point of like looking up at the sky and looking up at the animals and the birds and the squirrels and everything, and just being happy that they're there, and like trying to practice some gratitude for the fact that I'm here. And yes, I can focus on the fact that my son is gone, which I'm reminded of almost every moment of my waking life, but I have no control over that. And I've tried to take the lessons I've learned through that and make them as good as possible. And it's all up on how you decide to look at it. So you get one of these diagnoses, then make the best of it. My cousin who's got stage 4 cancer, who I've been dealing with his treatments for the last year, called me the other day just to tell me, he's thankful to be here. And his therapist had asked him, like, who are you? And he had an answer, and then he's like, would it have been different before your diagnosis? And he said, yes, but not at all bad. Like, he's looked at things a little bit differently and is almost, I don't think you're ever appreciative of getting cancer, but he is appreciative of some of the ways he sees life. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it made me think of that song, like live like you're dying by Tim McGraw. But he's definitely had his ups and downs when it's come to this diagnosis, but now he's in one of those ups phases where things are going better than they were expecting. And that was after he gotten bad news that, things were going great. And then, no, it's not looking good. And then, oh, wait, it's like, and so this roller coaster that he's on, but, he's found this balance, like, what, if I just kind of keep going my way and find my way through it, then it's not as bad as I think. So, and I think that's a great thing to kind of leave on, that your how you decide to see the world is the world you live in. So,
you have a science fact for us?
I think you know what, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all up here in our brains, and my dog's back there, and I'm thinking the difference. And if you compare us and what we are and how we operate, our brains and everything, like the human brain is 3 times larger than the next largest animal's brain per body size. So, and that 3 times extra is all the stuff that enables us to do the things that, if a dog had ADHD, he's not going to be able to contemplate the upside of it. He's also going to be able to contemplate the downside of it too. He's just going to follow instinct. So, that's the thing. We get to choose, right? So use that choice well and make the best of it. So,
I think I said once that it's, it would be a disservice to all the things you've had to overcome if you don't, reap the good out of them. Right. If you've, if you don't use the struggles that you've gone through to be better and to learn, that then you wasted it. Like, why, why go through it? If I, didn't use my parents passing away for something good, I'm doing a dishonor to them.
Right.
And, I think if you look at it that way, it's easier, it's better than, wallowing in the downside,
Yeah. And that's a choice.
Right.
But the thing is, a lot of people don't think it is, like, they don't think they have that choice.
Right.
I know for me, like with Reese's passing, I felt like it was this black hole tugging me down, that there was no choice. I was already past the event horizon. Like, there was no choice. And the thing is, there's always a choice. There's always a choice in how you decide to look at it. So, and that choice is up to you. So there you go.
We'll wrap it
There's
up here.
our uplifting little nugget for the day.
We'll let you let Diana out.
Yeah, she's clearly not happy being in here right now. So
no, she's over it. So but all right. Well, we should do this again next week.
Yes, same bat time, same bat channel.
You should join us for Jeopardy one day.
I may be able to do today.
Ooh.
So Lori's homesick, and I don't know if she may have to go to the walk-in clinic, but I don't know. There's been this sickness that's been going through my house for about a month and a half now. So, and each person has seemed to successively get it, except for me. But yeah,
Not
so
that
that, sorry, I don't know if you can hear her coughing in the background. So.
I can't. No.
But did you hear that?
Actually, that I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I don't have to take her to the walk-in clinic, then I will be around.
Let me know.
And I will try to join you guys. And the new format, which is not new to you guys, but would be new to me.
Oh yeah, you haven't even competed yet.
No, I have not competed. So
you become a competitor.
But now I'm like, is my memory impairment due to age? Is this going to affect my ability to perform?
Find out next time.
Yes.
Tune in at 3 o'clock to see if
tune in today to find out
if Rich's dementia will spoil the Jeopardy.
Well, the upside of it is I won't care. So
yeah,
if I'm going to look at the positive, there's positives to dementia. You're just not going to care anymore. So there you go.
My dad wanted dementia. He said to him it sounded like getting LSD all the time, and he really enjoyed being on LSD. So.
Oh, I don't know if that's something I'd wish for, but
anyway, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next time on Thursdays. Now we do this at around 10 o'clock. So
sounds good.
Or you can watch it later. There's no schedule around here. You can do whatever you want.
That's true. That's right.
Like Netflix.
It'll always be posted. So
yeah, it's here forever. You can watch it over and over again. That's what I do. I just watch these on repeat.
That's what I do. I've been playing in the background
all the time. Yeah. Not weird. All right, y'all.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. All right. Bye.